personal branding versus business branding, and which one you should start with. Which one do you need?
Brando, hey, let me tell you the truth. It's not about who you know, but who knows you. Brando, it's your story. You can rewrite it if you so choose. It's your life. You decide those moves. Brando, you want to talk about getting the bag? He built a 7-figure brand from scratch. Brando, it's the Brand Up Podcast, but you already know. Enough talking, bro. Let's start this show. Brando.
I'm going to walk you through the same exact process that I followed when my wife came up to me a few years ago. For those of you that are not familiar with the podcast, with me personally and what I do. So my wife was running an eyelash salon. It's in the beauty industry. And so when COVID hit, she asked me, what do I think it's a good idea for her to kind of dive into in terms of scaling the business, as the times were kind of tough at that point because the beauty salons were the first ones that were shut down. So I said, well, there are basically two ways to grow a business. One is you either open up a salon in every major city, but obviously that was not an option at the time because all the beauty salons and beauty businesses were shut down. And then the other way, and also she hates having a lot of employees. Like when she framed the question, she said, well, I want to grow it in a way that is not necessarily really employee dependent. And so the other way is to scale it vertically, right? So I said, all right, now we're going to focus on scaling your personal brand by offering courses because her skill set was already proven. She had the years of experience. She had the clientele. It's just at that point in time, it was a temporary shutdown. So we did a little bit of research and we looked at competitors and other people that were selling eyelash courses online, in person, certifications, things like that. So scaling vertically does not require employees, especially not at the beginning, right? It might require some virtual assistants for editing content, if we're talking, podcast, YouTube channels and things like that. So for her, we went heavily into building her YouTube channel. She did not have any YouTube presence at the time. And so scaling a personal brand for her was actually the most logical step at the time. But I had previous experience into buying a few local brick-and-mortar businesses and also selling one. Like my wife's first business was a cleaning company. And so when she got to a point where she had about 6 employees and she was kind of really to the point that she didn't want the headaches that were coming up because she's the type of micromanager, right? Like she really wants everything done to a T. And I said to her, well, look, there's no point for you to just close doors. Give me a few months. And so we put together a little bit of a package and eventually she was able to exit the business. And so for her, in that point in time, the most logical step was to focus on a personal brand rather than the business brand because the business brand was already existed. It was live. It was a temporary shutdown, right? So in your case, think about how you can replicate the option to even think of like what's the most logical step now, right? Now, if she would have asked me the same question, but the business itself did not exist, like the salon itself did not exist, I would have probably had a different opinion because the skill set, like I wasn't sure if the skill set was there. In this case, the skill set was there. And so it was just a matter of creating enough content to build authority around the skill set that she had and just start to sell and put together a couple products. So we started on the YouTube channel and then we launched a podcast and the first product that she actually put together was an online course, but it wasn't necessarily the best decision in my opinion because not having an audience and instantly starting to try to sell an online product, it came up to a very high cost of acquisition. Client acquisition costs were actually pretty high because we looked at the competition and the price points that they had in this industry, in the eyelash online courses, were anywhere between $97 to $197. And I think the highest sold at the time was $300 or so. We're talking online. In person, it was a whole different story, but because everything was shut down, nobody was able to offer those in-person certification type of programs. But it took a little bit of time to kind of understand that and a little bit of a budget to spend for marketing, for client acquisition, for student acquisition in this case, right? And so to answer what's best, personal brand versus business brand, it's really a matter of there's no right or wrong answer, in my opinion. It's just what's the best and what's the most logical step for you to focus right now. Not a year ago, not what's going to be the best in 2 or 3 years. It's right this moment. So you just have to kind of understand, like, is your personal brand really in line with your business brand, or you want to separate it? Because if you plan to exit at some point in time, you really want to do this the smart way. So the way that we focused on my wife's personal brand, it's not really attached to the business brand itself. So the salon itself exists, and it's a possibility if she wants to sell the salon, or let's say we decide to franchise it. Maybe we do something like a lash business in a box type of thing, and then we franchise or license it. Many students had this question, like, can we use your brand's name to open another salon in maybe a different city or state for that matter, right? So the salon itself exist individually without affecting the personal brand, right? The same thing applies to the personal brand, right? If my wife wants, now she's never going to be able to sell her personal name, like, and she wouldn't want that, nor anyone would be interested in buying somebody else's name, right? Now, the products that belong to the personal brand can always be licensed, outsourced, right? Like, for example, she could always hire more lash trainers to hold trainings in person in the Boston area, or to record more trainings online, more online courses, things like that, without the salon itself being affected. Now, yes, they do complement each other to a small extent. And what I mean is, a lot of the students that come in person and get certified, they may end up coming into the salon to kind of test the service that they just been certified on, right? So they get a certification for some type of technique in this eyelash industry, and then they come in the salon to kind of test and see if the lash tech will provide the same quality type of service that they've been certified on, right? And then we added a little bit of a bonus in this business. It's almost like a different income stream, but it's still in a way connected, and it's called a product brand. So I remember probably 8 months in building personal brand and building the online course curriculum and actually putting together and selling these programs, my wife said, well, eventually I want to have my own product brand, my own list of products that I offer to my students, because that way I can test them ahead of time and I can be confident with the products that I'm recommending, because otherwise, if you recommend a different brand, you can never guarantee like how that brand is going to sell you, a month, 2 months down the line. And so she worked really, really hard with a lot of different people that were selling these products in China, Afghanistan, and different countries. And they were able to kind of outsource from different places, different products. So now absolutely all the products that are being sold during these certification classes in person and online, both of them, they do come with access to these products. So the product brand exists also individually. Like the product brand itself can be franchised or can be outsourced or can be licensed, or whatever avenue we would want to go when it comes to if it's a plan of exit, without the salon being affected. Like the products themselves, they can exist. They're not heavily pushed on like the Shopify store itself is not actually pushed much outside of the courses that are being sold by my wife or the certifications that are done in person. But again, they complement each other. So the product brand complements the personal brand, and the personal brand complements the business brand, but they exist individually without having any kind of problem if one of them has to be sold, exited, or outsourced, or whatever other combinations of these strategies are being applied to. So think about, in your case, it's not necessarily a right or wrong answer in terms of what's better, personal brand or business brand. In my opinion, if you don't have a service to sell right now, and if the service, it's mostly done online, so for example, you're a video editor, you're a copywriter, you're a funnel builder, you're a website builder, or any kind of other combinations in between, you might have more success branding the services from your personal name just at the beginning. However, from a legal standpoint and from a business account standpoint, you should still have the actual business name, LLC, if you're in US, have a separate bank account, and then focus on that business brand, at least showing up on the receipts, on invoices, or if you send estimates or things of that nature. Now, if you sell some type of service that it's in the local area, it's more of a brick-and-mortar type of, let's say, service. If it's roofing, construction, moving, cleaning, all of these things, you should actually focus on building the business brand, because eventually you would want to exit that thing at some point in time. And that business brand itself will act as an actual asset, because you will start to get reviews, you will start to have, a domain with your website on and things like that. So then the other part is, in terms of building your personal brand, do it in a way that can be, again, separated from the business brand. And eventually, if you consider adding a product brand to it, that's just a bonus. It's just extra. So you should not necessarily attach them to be hard to exit if the plan comes. And in my opinion, you should always have an exit plan in place, regardless if that exit plan is a possible business sell, or let's say you decide at some point in time that you just want to outsource everything and you don't want to be involved in the process. So you should always focus on building your business in a way that can be exited, regardless what's the actual strategy of that exit. So I hope this helps. Let me know in either the comments below if you're watching the episode, or by sending me an Instagram DM. What do you think about these strategies that I just shared with you? Because every time when I end up sharing this, like the last 2 speaking engagements that I had, people reacted really, really good at talking about the differences between a personal brand, business brand, and product brand. So don't forget, in the show notes or description of this episode, you'll be able to also find a link where you can record your own question, and I'll answer it to the podcast here, either on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the platform that you consume. So I'll catch you in the next episode. Don't forget, you can also check the other episodes in the description of this one, because I always want to list at least 1 to 3 other episodes that are connected in topic. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.
Brand up.